I'm going to be honest. Back in December when I published Steven Universe, The Truth of Rebellion, I didn't intend to return to it so soon. Not that I never intended to write about the show again, but rather, I didn't expect anything to immediately appear within the show that would warrant a follow-up within a video. But then again, I don't think a lot of people, myself included, were expecting that. Oh yeah, probably should have posted spoilers, whoops! Though to summarize my points in the first video, I think one of the core tenets to Steven Universe's storytelling is examining the act of rebellion and the underlying philosophies of a rebel. Each character has their own motivations to align themselves with the crystal gems and Steven, and their existence as characters are defined by their desires to undermine or destroy unjust practices upheld by the Gem Empire, and the real-world societal structures that they are meant to parallel. Even back when the episodes Lars of the Stars and Jungle Moon aired, many people have been asking me whether or not this analysis of the show has changed as we grew to know more and more about the Great Diamond Authority, specifically its fourth member, Pink. I've never been one to post instant reactions to stuff I like. If I did, I'd sure have a lot more views, ha! So whenever questions surrounding the diamonds arose, I felt more inclined to wait until we received a more substantial examination of the Great Diamond Authority, in order to better understand the ideological forces at play, and knowing what the crystal gems are rebelling against. So once it was revealed that Rose Quartz was a false form taken up by Pink Diamond, needless to say, it complicated matters. For many people, including some characters within the show, it completely invalidated the ideologies at play within the crystal gems, with one commenter calling the rebellion a big false flag operation. This reveal, crossed with Pink and Rose's aloof, careless, and selfish nature, confirms the suspicion of many that Rose Quartz started the rebellion for selfish reasons, and ultimately made life worse for the crystal gems and all life forms on Earth. And something that might surprise some of you is that after some deliberation, I found that this reveal didn't invalidate any of my previous observations, and in fact helped to reinforce certain aspects to this central theme of rebellion. Though in order to explain why, let's just ponder. Who was Pink Diamond? Let's start all the way back. Back all the way from here. When we first meet Pink Diamond, the most charitable description that can be assigned to her is likened to a spoiled child. She's overly impetuous, irresponsible, apathetic, though most importantly, entitled. Much of our initial impressions of Pink show that even though she doesn't display many strong qualities of leadership, she still wishes to have a gem colony of her own. And while much of this desire stems from that aforementioned entitlement, there is also a deep insecurity that can also be seen in many spoiled children. Fundamentally, Pink feels a disconnect between herself and the other diamonds. And while the source of this disconnect remains unknown, it makes Pink desperate for validation from her parental figures. Possessing a gem colony is not about gaining resources or even responsibility. Rather, the appearance of responsibility and maturity is meant to address and downplay Pink's insecurity about her own insignificance. After all, her big initial reveal line was, "I'm just as important as you." Like many gifts given to spoiled children, the colony of Earth did not do much to address this fundamental insecurity. While she was given a pearl to manage this colony with, Pearl's blind obedience did nothing to help address Pink's desire for companionship or acknowledgement. And once Pearl gave Pink the idea to visit the kindergarten, the potential novelty was enough to pique her interest. And from there, Pink's eyes were open to the wonders of life on Earth, and by shedding her ignorance, it made Pink realize the harm she was doing to the world, and strove to change that. She first goes about this by acting within the system of the Diamond Authority, though much of this was ignored as the behavior of a spoiled child, and according to Pearl, she decided to make a stand, as someone they couldn't ignore. Thus, Pink shed her identity as a diamond, and adopted the persona of Rose Quartz, the simple quartz soldier that rebelled against her place as a gem, determined to take down the Great Diamond Authority. With such an inspiring persona, she would soon amass a large army with the likes of the Fusion Garnet, and the rogue Bismuth, and they would work to dismantle the Gem Empire's infrastructure on Earth in order to halt gem production and the destruction of the planet. Even though Pink has taken up the cause of freedom, it can be noted that not much has been done to address her impetuous, irresponsible, and apathetic personality. She still seems to disregard Pearl's romantic feelings towards her. She sees humans as primitive animals, and she was extremely secretive about her true identity, her vaults, the lions, and the true fate of Bismuth and the Breaking Point. While not to completely excuse this behavior, it becomes understandable when you consider the freedom that being Rose Quartz offered to Pink. Not only can Pink continue to address this insecurity while maintaining her role as a leader adored by the masses, she does so without intentionally harming the Earth, and can thus continue her role as leader without any guilt. Though eventually, perhaps out of inspiration from Bismuth, Pink decides to fake her own death and permanently adopt the identity of Rose. In her mind, shattering Pink Diamond could be seen as the logical endpoint of the rebellion. After all, if you want to take down a power structure, you should start from the top, right? And if she was taken down, Rose Quartz could supplant her and become the new leader of Earth, while also doing so without feeling guilty. Though in reality, this plan backfires spectacularly, because such plans often don't consider the aftermath of any violent incursion. Something that perhaps should have been predicted by Rose or Bismuth was the other diamond's response. Blue, yellow, and white diamond, thinking that Pink was destroyed, unleashed a powerful attack that corrupted every gem on Earth, with the exception of Rose, Garnet, Pearl, Bismuth, and Lapis. From there, the remaining crystal gems worked to capture and contain the corrupted gems that inhabited the Earth, with the rebellion seemingly becoming an afterthought as an amethyst joined the team. Centuries passed. Rose continued to act as the leader of the crystal gems, while still remaining the spoiled, naive, secretive, and selfish diamond that she was so many centuries ago. Though eventually, something changed. She wandered into the human town that grew closer to the Gem Temple, where she stumbled upon a haphazardly organized concert being run by a single human named Greg Universe. Greg and Rose would soon begin a relationship, not too dissimilar from her previous human relationships in the past. But something happened that Rose did not expect. Greg called her out for the condescending, selfish, apathetic manner that she treated everyone with. Something about Greg caused her to become introspective about who she was, the people that she'd hurt, and all the secrets she kept. I don't think she was ever able to completely shed the kind of person she was in the past. However, I do think that she did grow to love all of those around her and life on Earth. And she loved them not out of the adoration they gave her, but she loved them because she fully appreciated what it meant to be an individual being. So in the spirit of this development, she decided that she wanted to become someone new. One last time. There are multiple ways that this character progression can be framed, but for the purposes of understanding this character, I wish to frame this development in a sociological and historical lens. One of the most defining aspects to our modern world is the ways in which we perceive and view authority, which was arguably first defined by Max Weber's 3 types of authority: rational authority, charismatic authority, and crucially, traditional authority. Within any hierarchical structure, from a government to a business, a mixture of these types of authority must be maintained in order to preserve that power structure. You must perpetuate rational authority through laws and rules, charismatic authority to make a leader that appeals to the masses, and traditional authority, which prioritize the maintenance of long-standing practices in order to incentivize a leader to stay in that position. After all, if you are on top, why change anything? It's traditional. Though like poles on a tent, removing or altering any of these forms of authority can cause the whole structure to dramatically change, and those changes often occur when people reject the traditions of that society, often occurring at generational shifts within the population. Once a society grows and traditions become older, more and more people within that society begin to question the validity of said traditions, And it's from this shift that we have seen rebellions manifest throughout history. The Protestant Reformation from Catholicism, the shift from monarchy to democracy, agriculture to industrialism, classicism to romanticism, the fall of imperialism and slavery, the shift to postmodernism, the rejections of fascism and capitalism, the societal shifts away from traditional perceptions of beauty, self-worth, and love, to even the process of a child becoming an independent adult, all of which are examples of the young rejecting the traditional authority of the old. Once the traditional authority of a society is thoroughly questioned and shattered, the other two pillars of authority are also weakened and rebuilt under the basis of new traditions of authority. Though something inevitable within any revolutions of this nature is that every rejection of traditional authority is destined to enter the same position of that traditional authority, and will inevitably face the same skepticism from the next generation to take power. Though something Pink's rebellion demonstrates is how even within drastic societal shifts, certain traditions and beliefs are nearly impossible to completely supplant. After all, even though the crystal gems were able to save the Earth, they were still unable to stop and destroy certain aspects to the Gem Empire, its over-reliance on hierarchy, rejection of abnormality, and the destructive consumption and exploitation of other life forms, all of which are still alive and well on both Homeworld and our world. There's a lesson to be learned from the life of Pink Diamond and Rose Quartz. Pink Diamond lived a life of power and luxury, far from the suffering of those marginalized by the Gem Empire. She only began to rebel equally out of spite towards the other diamonds, the guilt she had for perpetuating a corrupt system, and a desire to make life better for those individual members of the marginalized groups that she knew personally. Though I don't believe her failure as a leader and a rebel was attributed to this. Though I believe a big factor to her failure was how she wasn't willing to completely shed her traditional authority that she maintained through her privileged lifestyle as Pink Diamond and Rose Quartz. If you're someone like me with a white, straight, cisgendered, middle-class background, some of these events and motivations might feel familiar to you. I'm glad to say that I wasn't as spoiled as Pink Diamond was at the start, though there was an element of ignorance within how I perceived the world, and other people with different backgrounds to myself. Like Pink, through curiosity, coincidence, and critical thinking, I also began to learn more about the world around me, and found out how my privileged background shielded me from a lot of harm that was inflicted upon others who are different, imbuing me with the traditional authority that we often grant to people with my background. There were times that I abused that traditional authority, even at times when I did so wanting to help others, and similar to Pink, I later realized that I was, and still am, ignorant in many ways. And in order to better understand others and myself, I have to take a more passive position, so that other people could have their voices amplified. Perhaps this is why Stephen was brought into the world. By shedding the memories and authority found within Pink and Rose, Stephen has been able to truly reject the authority of the Gem Empire. By growing around figures like the Crystal Gems, Greg, Connie, and all of the different perspectives and voices that can be seen in Beach City, Stephen has been more effectively able to face the many problems, both human and gem created, that have plagued the Earth. And in many of those cases, he does so in ways that are unpredictable, yet cooperative. Even though he has grown in power and influence throughout the series, Stephen still rejects the notion of being a similar authority figure like his mother, rather choosing to influence others through compassion and empathy. As both the show and our world move into an always uncertain future, consider this. If we are able to examine the traditional authority that we find ourselves within, and learn how to elevate others to the similar level, we can perhaps live in a world built on equity and compassion, rather than authority. Thank you for watching. Best wishes.
Alright, with the video done and the next episode coming out God knows whenever, hopefully I can now make more videos about other things knowing that I've addressed every major development in this show.
Pink! There you are. Hello, Stone. You certainly gave everyone a scare. Everyone is so relieved his presence is necessary. Welcome home, Pink.
Thought I'd stay a while. I tried to learn to smile.